the season killer. Raise your hand. I don't know how you're going to do that, but type a 1 in the chat if you know what a season killer is. It is the bane of every reliever's existence, and I would like to let you know what it is because I used to literally lose sleep over this, and I got a lot of examples of what it actually means. So, being a reliever, I've talked a lot about it here on the show, right? I've talked about how relievers are valued and how I disagree with how relievers are valued, how WAR is a terrible stat for a reliever for many reasons. But there's some pros and cons just to being a reliever, okay? There's a reason that everyone starts out as a starter, wants to be a starter as long as possible, and then as a function of a last resort, decides to become a reliever because it keeps you in the major leagues for the most part. But some of the few perks of being a reliever are you only have to get a few outs, so going out and going 1, 2, 3 or just like avoiding giving up a run, in theory, is easier. But we'll talk a little bit about how it's not actually true. You have to work out and condition like a little bit less often than a starter. That's just because you don't know what days you're going to pitch. So you go through stretches where you just get to conserve all of your energy for going in the game. That can be considered a perk, especially if you're a lazy person that doesn't like to run like me. And you also don't have to conserve energy. You can go out there and you can just, in the words of my AA pitching coach, Stu Clyburn, kick up dust. You can just go out and throw as hard as you can. That's one thing I really liked. Those are the 3 main perks, though. I would say maybe there's a half perk in there that as a reliever you might get an opportunity, but I think that the reason you get an opportunity is because of a con, not a perk. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So, but the cons of being a reliever, you get paid the least of any other role on the field, like by far. Relief pitchers are the least paid guys on the whole team, on every team, right? If you have a really good closer, he might be like 5th on the team in pay, maybe, right? You might get a closer paid, but nobody else is getting remotely as much money as anybody else. A great reliever contract's like 3 for $25. If you get 3-year deals as a reliever, you are doing it. You're paid the least, and for the casual fans, the fans that just kind of don't watch as much baseball, that maybe don't value relievers very much, you're either just doing your job, which is throwing 1, 2, 3 innings, or you're blowing it. So you're either whatever, he's just doing what he's paid to do, or you suck. That sounds a lot like a kicker to me. That's why relievers are just the kickers of baseball, in my opinion. I said that a lot. I'm going to say it again. There's also no above and beyond. Like in the same way that you're either just doing your job or you're terrible, it's kind of hard to get any recognition for doing anything. Like you have to like not give up a run for 4 months, which is really hard to do. And that's the only way anyone notices you, basically, if you're not a closer. Now, closers are in their own little group, and we've talked a lot about that, but I'm just talking most relievers. 7 of the 8 guys out there are in this bucket. And the support for you can vary wildly. It can literally be day to day. I'm going to show you some examples of how quickly things can turn around on you, and a great season can turn into a horrible season in a blink of an eye. And it's jarring, and it's really, really, really stressful. Okay, and it'd be like you could do those 20 straight scoreless, and then you give up runs in 2 outings, and everyone just like those 20 don't matter anymore. It's what have you done for me lately? That is very much baseball, but it's double that for relievers. And like I just said, the big one is a couple bad days can ruin your entire season. Thus, the season killer. Now, let me give you some examples of this because recently we had a few outings out of some relievers, 2 of which happened on the same day, which was crazy. I didn't know that when I even came up to this. But May 6th of this month, May 6th, actually that is this month, isn't it? May 6th of this year, this season, was a nightmare for 2 for sure, but 3 relievers, okay? The first example, Ryan Presley came into a game against, here, I'll just show you. Ryan Presley enters the game against the Giants in extras and proceeds to give up 5 hits, walk a gentleman, hit a gentleman, and give up 9 runs without recording an out. I'm not kidding. This wasn't like, oh, I'm getting hit around, or I'm giving a couple ticky-tacky hits and then a granny or something. This is like hit, 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 hit For a guy that has been as good as he has been for as long as he has been good, that can be jarring in a way where you're like, I don't give up this many hits. I don't think I've ever given up 5 hits in an inning. And he gave up 9 runs, 8 of which were earned. And there was even a wild pitch in there, which I believe is the next pitch here. So this is all happening and there's no outs. And it's just through the hole, through the hole, through the hole, to the point where you've never had less confidence. You might have negative confidence. You're miserable out there. And he walks off the mound, as you can see, he's not very happy there, walks off the mound, knowing that his ERA went from a low number to an extremely high number. Specifically, after this outing, Ryan Presley's ERA went from a 2.08 to a 7.62. This was his line. 0 innings, 5 hits, 9 runs, 8 earned, 1 walk. He hit a guy, 7.62 ERA. He had a, like I just mentioned, he had a 2.08 going into the game. So now, going into the game, everyone's like, Presley's having a good year. After the game, he's like, Presley's the worst pitcher on the planet. That's how this stuff happens. That is what we call a season killer. He is going to be working on getting that ERA down for the rest of the year. If he gets it down to like a 3.5, he'll be like, W, I did it. I did it. I had this was my season in 2023. I started with like an 11, and every outing I was like, ooh, it went down, 2/3 of a run. Oh, it went down 1/10 of a run. Oh, ooh. And you just try to throw 0 after 0 after 0. And it's very hard to do. That was a big one. On that same day, 2 people got hit with that bug in the San Diego took on the Yankees. And San Diego led 3-2 going into the 8th inning or 7th inning. And Adrian Morejon took over and started. He was one of their best lefty pitchers. So it was 99 from the left side. And things happened really quick on him, okay? He goes up, first pitch he throws, hit to Jason Dominguez. That's not what you want to see. You want to see a guy hitting one of your off-speed pitches for a double the first pitch you throw, it's a nice pitch too. You're like, oh God. Then you go up and another hit to Volpe, up the middle. Uh-oh, things are going poorly. This is not very fun. I believe there is a walk in here, there's a double. They score a couple runs. Then he walks the bases loaded, and eventually, Austin Wells takes him. Not him actually. Then Wandy Peralta came in. Then he walked in a run. So Wandy Peralta inherits the bases loaded. Then he gives up a double. And then he gives up a single. And then he gives up another. Then there's an error at third. So every pitcher is not having very much fun out there. And then the big swing, a grand slam to the Austin Wells. What do you do? What do you do with this? And this is their outing. Look at the bottom here. Wandy Peralta, 6 runs. 4 to Morejon. That's 10 runs in 1 inning. And their ERAs went from 1.56 to a 3.57 for Morejon and a 1.35 to a 5.14 for Peralta. Unfortunately, Peralta has given up 4 runs in his last 2 outings. What's that take him to? He is a 7.04 now. 3 outings ago, he had a 1.35, and now he has a 7. And he's going to be worrying about that for the rest of his career, rest of his year. It can be all one swing. Mason Miller gives up this walk-off grand slam to Bowers. Stowers, sorry, not Bowers. Stowers. 4 runs right there. Ends the game, walk off, gives up the maximum number of runs he could have given up, and his ERA went to a 5. He has struck out 30 in 15 innings, but he has a 5 ERA. Is he bad? No. Did he get a season killered? A little bit. One of the worst ones I've ever seen, I saw live, was my friend Trevor Hildenberger. He had the bases loaded, with the game's tied, and he gives up a long drive to Salvi Perez, hoping that stays in. It hits the top of the wall and goes over. So instead of just giving up a single and 1 run, he gives up 4 runs to end the game. That's 2 inches gave him 3 extra runs on his ERA for the year. Season killed. Basically, that's the worst case scenario, and that is a season killer. So what I'm trying to say is be kind to your reliever. It is the difference between the number of runs you can give up. Basically, it could be the difference between a few inches and your season being ruined for a relief pitcher. So you just want to pitch the next day and get back on the horse. And if you have 2 or 3 straight bad days, that could be it for the rest of your season. Wandy Peralta literally went from one of the better relievers in the bullpen to I hope I don't get released in 3 outings. That doesn't happen to any other position on the field except for relievers. And they just so happen to be paid the least. Unfortunately, though, I have a guest today that was also a reliever and can speak on this a little bit. Let's see if we got him in here. Adam Ottavino, there he is. Otto, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully you heard my little diatribe about season killers. You yourself spent a lot of time out in bullpens. What is your experience with seeing your ERA go to $1 million right at the beginning of the year, and how often do you think about trying to get that down after that point?
Oof, what a topic. I pitched 727 games in my career, and there's 3 that stand out as being epically bad.
And you remember them?
Kind of, absolutely. I had a 7-spot, 6-spot, and 7-spot in those games. And if you go look at those seasons, 2012, 2020, and there's another one with a 6-spot. Basically, it's what torpedoed the ERA. So it's really tough, but not as bad if it happens in April. I don't know if you would agree, just because you have the rest of the season to possibly grind it away. But yeah, I mean, it's the equivalent of a hitter going like 0 for 200. So,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think anybody understands that. That's how devastating it is.
It's the equivalent of a hitter going 0 for 200 in 1 day.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes.
It could be over, because I just showed the Presley outing from the other day. He only threw 26 pitches.
Yeah.
He threw 26 pitches and gave up 9 runs. Like, that's one of those ones you're like, get me off the field right now. I don't know what's happening. Someone else has to try to do this. Yeah, it's miserable. So do you remember in those outings, just to kind of follow up, did you get any outs in them at least?
The first one I had 2 outs in the inning and no runs in. And it was bases loaded, 2 outs. This was in San Diego, 2012, September. I had just decided that I had a good season. I had just patted myself on the back. And then it went, with the bases loaded and 2 outs, it went like single, grand slam. So, yeah, I didn't know how to really digest that one. And the rest of my career, I never was proud of myself until the last out was thrown. That was the lesson. And then, but the one in 2020 was in Buffalo versus Toronto, 7 earnings, no outs recorded. Yeah, that was it. I remember that night saying, well, there's just no time to recover this. There's only 60 games in this season, so we're just going to have to be a team player from here on out.
Yeah, we're just going to have to be very clear that we try to make the case. We're taking that one out when we're going for other contracts and stuff, because I remember I had to do that. There was like 3. I was like, take those 3 out, though. It was amazing. For the other 60, it's just... it took me to it's a difference between having like a 2 and a 3.8 at the end of the year sometimes, which is a very different season, I think, for a lot of people.